Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is September 20th, and right now we are looking at the Doppler radar overlaid with excessive rainfall outlook for portions of southern southwest Oregon there. Flash flood watches are in effect for portions of California with this upper level low bringing precipitation kind of sitting and spinning off the coastline there. SPC does have a general risk of thunderstorms outlined by this lighter green line here. An elevated fire risk does exist for portions of the east slopes of the Cascades, Oregon, Washington, often through the Columbia Basin here as well. So jumping right into things here, let's go ahead and take a look at the infrared satellite imagery. You see that low pressure system taking its sweet time. It's cut off now by this ridge above it. As this ridge starts to kick off, this will eventually eject up northeast across the region. Still great uncertainty with what kind of precipitation values it's going to bring across eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho Panhandle, western Montana as we go through the next few days, but we'll look at that closely here. And then this weak system is going to approach Pacific Northwest as we head towards Friday and this weekend. Going to cool us down for a bit. Then the potential for a ridge building behind that as well. Doesn't look like any heat wave should be associated with that. Just maybe a couple warm days. We'll take a look at that in some detail also. Now taking a look, Sacramento, California, flash flood watch. Mainly this concerns these burn scar areas here. You can get some ash and debris flow caused by the heavy rain thunderstorm activity. And you can see the flooding concerns with that excessive rainfall outlook for some of the Sierra Nevadas up towards Redding, California. And this extends all the way up into Oregon, as we saw earlier. Now, taking a look here, visible satellite imagery, you see that Bolt Creek fire really pumping some smoke down to the Puget Sound. Some of the smoke's moving all the way out off the Washington coastline here. You can see the wraparound moisture occurring with that upper level low across California. Look at this low cloud deck socked in and through Montana. You can see it not moving much out there. A nice break for some areas out there across Montana if you like low clouds anyway. You see the Goat Rocks fire here also bringing some smoke into western Washington as well. The HRRR's been showing some kind of fire activity down here near Olympia, but I don't see anything on the visible satellite imagery now. But we'll take a look at that here coming up. And National Weather Service Spokane, again with the great graphics. Okanagan River Valley winds gusting out of the north down there. That's why this red flag warning does exist. You can see some gusts possible to 40 miles per hour across eastern Washington today. Patchy blowing dust, fire spread with any new fires is possible. And this is the upper level low ejecting across the region, starting to pick up on that precipitation out here. We don't know. This is probably going to change quite a bit in the next couple of days. High uncertainty in the location of this rainfall. And you can see heaviest portions probably across the Idaho Panhandle. We'll see how that turns out. Blowing dust, so heads up if you're traveling out through eastern Washington today and tomorrow as well. SeaTac yesterday, 77, 6 degrees above average. It's going to be above average probably today and tomorrow as well. You can see by tomorrow, our average temperature drops down to about 70 degrees here across Seattle. But enjoy these nice days as they come. Looks like we are going to turn back towards a little bit more of an active period, maybe here at the end of September. Here, we'll take a look at that in the extended forecast in a moment. Here we go. HRRR, 3 kilometer 12Z. This goes out 48 hours. You can see that Bolt Creek fire pumping some smoke into the Puget Sound here as we go through tonight. Looking at this point, you can see it continuing to move out over the coastline, even some smoke from eastern Washington, probably the Goat Rocks fire here, impacting portions of Puget Sound, southwest Washington towards Portland as well. So as we get into Thursday night, this is some smoke aloft too. So it continues to move off a little bit. Then it starts to get shunted back to the east here as we go on in through Thursday morning. However, at the surface, we're going to get a bit more relief a little bit earlier here. Now look at yesterday at my house. You could see that air quality diminished there during the afternoon hours, picked up a little bit again yesterday evening, got pretty bad again here this morning. You could really smell the smoke. It dropped back down, improved again, but now it might be on the return here. So you see the smoke ebbing and flowing around the Puget Sound there. Looking at a closer look here, 8 meters above the ground, smoke density HRRR 3 kilometer. This is a 12Z run. You see that Bolt Creek fire pumping some smoke into the Puget Sound. And again, this is not gospel or anything. This is moving around quite a bit. So any place in the Puget Sound can be getting surface smoke as we go on through the day today. You'll notice that easterly component kind of bringing it into the Puget Sound here. This is Wednesday morning. Now watch what happens as we get into Wednesday afternoon and evening. You start to see that westerly component kicking that fire smoke away from western Washington. So we should get some relief there. But on the flip side of that, that's going to bring smoke off to the east slopes of the Cascades and on in through eastern Washington as well. So you just can't win with these forest fires around the area. Now taking a look here, European last night's run, total precipitation inches. You see that upper level low spinning and bringing wraparound moisture all the way up into Oregon. And as we go through Wednesday afternoon, this is going to finally kick out across the region. Here you can see this precipitation coming across eastern Washington. Idaho Panhandle looks like it's going to be the winner for now. However, these models may change. Western Montana getting some really good precipitation out of this system as well. As you look off into the extended a little bit here, it comes Friday morning as we get a weak system approaching BC, mainly north of Vancouver Island with some decent precipitation amounts. But there is some light precipitation possible across western Washington, British Columbia, as well as we look to cool down a bit this weekend before we potentially bounce back the following week. We'll look at that here in a moment. Now here's looking at yesterday's European control run. Yes, you can see all this cold air in that trough off the west coast of North America finally eject out of here. But then you can see the next system kind of brushing through British Columbia here, chilly air aloft, but not a very dynamic system there through the weekend, just going to keep us relatively cool across from the Pacific Northwest here. And as we go on in through Sunday, you can notice some of this warm air at 850 millibars, 5,000 feet, building across Oregon, tries to get up into Washington and through BC, southwest BC, I should say, a little bit here, but doesn't really make its way too much. So it's probably just going to be a few warm days. But again, a little bit warmer the further south and east you go across Oregon there. Now taking a look here, here's the European on the left, GFS on the right. Let's go ahead and see what kind of model agreement we have. There goes that upper level low kicking out across the region here through Thursday, western Montana. And then you can see that weak system slinging through here on the day Friday, keeping us a little bit chilly here this weekend. But you can see the ridge rapidly start to rebuild again here across Pacific Northwest. But if you notice, the European and the GFS have been showing that ridge pushing off to the east a little bit more. So we're probably going to bring some marine influence sooner rather than later here across western Washington and western Oregon, western BC as well. As you can see, the ridge centered over the Intermountain West here in the GFS and the European for that matter. You can see the Gulf of Alaska trough starting to encroach by the time we get into early next week here. That would definitely bring some marine influence across the region here, maybe even some precipitation chances as we go on in through next week. Not bad model agreement, really. But then as we get off to the extended, which is going to be expected here, you can see the GFS tries with a little bit of a ridge here, but you can see the European plainly showing troughing over the Gulf of Alaska here. Now, look at this down here through the Gulf of Mexico. This is probably something that's going to have weather Twitter going nuts here as we see the GFS and the European, not bad agreement here, showing that tropical system enter the Gulf of Mexico. This would mean big problems here for somewhere along the Gulf Coast here. But again, we're way far out at this point. We'll see if that comes to fruition. We'll watch that over the next few days as well. And, you know, you can just probably go ahead and look at weather Twitter online and get your fill of these model runs coming up the next few days with that tropical system moving around. But anyway, back to the Pacific Northwest here. Here's the GFS. Let's back this up. This is 12Z hot off the presses. You see this upper level low swinging across the region here, bringing that precipitation as we go on in through Wednesday and Thursday. Then that weak system moves through British Columbia here. On through the extended, you can see that ridge tries to build for a bit. Storm track stays north, but then quickly the GFS wants to bring a weak front through Tuesday afternoon the following week here. And then you can see the Gulf of Alaska troughing does exist here. No dynamic systems right now, but this can change rapidly with this Gulf of Alaska troughing going on here. We'll continue to watch that, but it looks like maybe a pattern change coming on in through early October. Still tough to pinpoint at this point. We're getting way far out there in fantasy land as of now. But for the most part, we're going to be dealing with some warm temperatures the next couple of days, and then system will swing through this weekend, cool us down, then potentially bounce back with a couple more warm days before maybe we drop back down again with some troughing nearby. Seattle, Tacoma, you can see that here. Maybe some upper 70s even, depends on how much smoke is around the area. Here comes that trough through Friday and Saturday before we start to bounce back a little bit through next week here. And then off into the extended here, much less confidence as always through next week. This is Rogue Valley, Medford, Oregon. You can see upper level low, keeping temperatures suppressed here before we start to warm back up again through late weekend and early next week here, as you saw that warm air aloft trying to nudge back into the Pacific Northwest here with that ridging. This is Brookings, Oregon here. You see the upper level low keeping things suppressed here, and then maybe a little bit of a bounce back this weekend. We'll see how that goes. Vancouver International, you see that system swinging by, plainly showing these temperatures dropping down, then maybe a bit of a bounce back here through early next week, and then off through the extended. Uncertainty exists. Portland, check this out. You can see that, you see that troughing, then some nice warm temperatures here potentially later on through the weekend here for Portland to Oregon. This is for Bend, Oregon. A little bit of warmth here showing again before we potentially cool back down more towards seasonable temperatures here on in through next week. Astoria, same story here. You guys are getting the gist of things there. This is Seattle, Tacoma. You can see the meager precipitation amounts expected with this system rolling through here on Friday night into Saturday morning. Not much precipitation expected, mainly just kind of a cool down for Seattle. But then you'll see through the extended here, some of the models pointing at this chaotic nature of having that Gulf of Alaska troughing nearby. No big precipitation makers out there right now until you get into early October. And it kind of points at a wet system there on the control run. But again, that's way off into fantasy land at this point. Crater Lake with that wraparound moisture, you can see the signal here pretty strong here, at least bringing a few tenths of an inch of rain, maybe up to a half an inch there for Crater Lake. This is yesterday's 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. September through early October still showing kind of that bubble there for some above average temperatures, but you can see that's mainly forecast to be in here across the interior west. So I'd say this confidence right now is low forecast. This is easily pushed back and bring more normal temperatures or even cooler than normal temperatures are still possible during this time frame here. So low confidence I have in this at 8 to 14 day temperature outlook at this point. Here's the precipitation signal kind of near normal across much Pacific Northwest for this point. But again, low confidence right now. Now this was released yesterday. Here's the Pacific Nino 3.4 surface temperature model outlook. As of right now, this kind of holds off the La Nina conditions through February. And by the time we get into March here, we're starting to move into neutral conditions, kind of what we've been seeing here the last couple of months. And here we go, the CFS forecasts. And you can see generally by February just starting to kick out here, but sometimes the atmosphere does not always just flip like a switch once you come out of La Nina. Sometimes these things can take time. You've got the atmosphere doing its own thing for a month or two afterwards. And we'll see how this goes. Looks like we're going to peak probably November, December for La Nina. Kind of a historic thing there. This seems to happen about every 25 years. Happened in the 50s, the 70s, and now it's happening now. So the next time we get a triple dip La Nina, I could be in my early 70s here, 25 years from now and whatnot. So yeah, let's go ahead and enjoy this and see what kind of conditions this brings as we go into our third straight La Nina in a row here. We'll continue to just kind of watch this forecast evolve as we go through the next few months here. But yeah, so anyway, enjoy this nice weather while it's coming. The transition will eventually come here. Sometimes it's a slow process, as it looks like it may be now, but it looks like some chance of some precipitation as we move towards later September on in through early October. Upper level low will continue to spin out here, then eject across the region here. Hopefully this forest fire smoke is not too bad today, but that surface smoke looks to be shunted eastward by Wednesday afternoon on in through evening, and then probably kick that off into eastern Washington a bit more as we go. But I know a lot of people have been suffering from this smoke here across western Washington. It's that bolt fire got pretty big out there just north of Highway 2, and I know portions of Highway 2 are still closed due to that fire out there. But anyway, yep, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll go ahead and run these models again tomorrow. We'll keep on looking off into the extended to see if we can try to latch onto some kind of a system moving through here and finally bring some precipitation values for western Oregon, Washington, up through southwest BC as we go on in through the extended. So hopefully you guys are having a good day. Thanks for all my members subscribing to the page. Click like, subscribe, and we'll do this again tomorrow.